Thank you, Tyler. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the longest-running traditions in Hollywood history, the 86th Annual Rudolph Valentino Memorial. Tyler touched upon this a bit. After all those years, the fact that so many people still gather today speaks to the enduring phenomenon that was Rudolph Valentino. And in being here, you become an active and vital part of the preservation and perpetuation of his legacy. So thank you, and kudos. Good job. I know some of you, yes, absolutely. I know some of you have traveled a great distance to be with us today. I know I spoke with a few of you over the phone, and we're happy to have you. I don't just mean those of you that came over the 405, although that is a daunting journey, to be sure. But welcome and safe travels home. And I know there are some of you that are here for the first time, so a special welcome to you, and we hope it is not your last. I'm sure we will see you again. And last but not least, we would not be speaking of this memorial's 86-year longevity were it not for those of you who continually attend year after year, continuously honoring the memory of Rudolph Valentino's life and work, and supporting this celebration at Hollywood Forever. You are the keepers of the flame, and I can only imagine how truly touched Valentino himself would be to know that the enduring love of his fans carried through to this day. So thank you so much. So with that said, we now turn our focus from you beautiful people to Rudolph Valentino, and to take us on to that, Mr. Tracy Terhune.
As always, I'm very honored and pleased to be here in honor of Rudolph Valentino, remembered 87 years after his passing, and of course the first memorial service was held 1 year prior. That's why there's a 1 year difference. I read something on Facebook this morning, that one of the people here, Melissa Delgado, who's come annually to this event, and she wrote on her wall, I printed it out, and with her permission I'm going to read it. I think it sums up why we're here today. She wrote, "There are few individuals whose very name is magic, an appellation which can truly be regarded as legendary, a name which is synonymous and epitomizing the romance of the silent film era. That man is Rudolph Valentino, and today is the 87th year of his passing. The annual Valentino Memorial Service continues to celebrate with affection and dignity the many aspects of Mr. Valentino, both as a human being and as well as the renowned silver screen immortal. Hollywood Forever Memorial Park proudly hosts this yearly homage, which begins at 12:10 p.m. in the Cathedral Mausoleum." I thought that was appropriate. Thank you, Melissa. As you can see when you came up the steps, the banners, the Mineral Lavateur is the spotlight this year, 90 years ago. And one of the reasons you may say, why is that so important? Well, it was really a unique time of Rudolph Valentino's life. If you keep in mind that 1921 is when he became a star. In 1926, 5 years later, he had died. During those 5 years, because of his strike in Paramount, he was off the screen for almost a year and a half. Part of that was the Mineral Lavateur. And yet, 87 years after his passing, with that brief of a career, we're still all here. I have another quote pertaining to the Mineral Lavateur, and I'll hit on some highlights of that. And of course, up here you see the display, which will be available after the ceremony to view. As Adela Rogers St. John wrote, "I do not know how many of you saw Mr. and Mrs. Valentino dance together. If not, you missed something that was the very essence of beauty, swamped as it was beneath silly advertising and ridiculed by newspapers and wisecrackers. The dancing tour they made together later should not be forgotten. And 90 years later, we are not forgetting it." Rudolph Valentino was the first motion picture star to jeopardize his career for creative control. It's not uncommon these days to hear actors and actresses going on strike or holding out for higher salaries or creative control, but he was really among the first. Paramount quickly filed a legal injunction against him, prohibiting him from appearing in any other motion picture since he was under contract. And so therefore he had to devise something. He was quite a spender, and he had to devise something to bring in revenue. And the Mineral Overture was a godsend for him. George Ullman orchestrated and managed the particulars of the tour. Valentino was paid $7,000 a week, and he had very lavish accommodations for that time. The Colonial, that was the name of his private railroad car, was elaborately furnished with Turkish carpets, gilt mirrors, and 2 guest bedrooms. They traveled with a valet, a cook, a personal secretary, the Valentino Tango Orchestra, George Ullman, Robert Flory. Quite a group. Actually, the Colonial survives to this day and is being refurbished. It's owned by private individuals, not available for public viewing, but at some point we can hope. But there are pictures that exist of that, and we'll get into that later. The tour started in Omaha, Nebraska on March 17, 1923. Dancing contestants were awarded a silver-plated loving cup. This is what the cups you see over here. And the beauty selections were each given an award of cloth dolls that replicated Mr. and Mrs. Valentino in the Gaucho Four Horsemen outfit. However, there were exceptions to the rule. There were times when beauty contests were given awarded trophies just as a dance contest. On the right-hand side here is another trophy which represents just that. It was given as a beauty contest. The one on the left was a dancing. There was 88 cities in all in the tour. In it, and all at the finale, it was in Madison Square Garden. And on display, you'll find a typed letter in the display case, a typed signed letter from Valentino regarding the training and care of his dogs, typed in red, the letterhead above it being done aboard the private car Colonial. And it's sort of nice, if you have a chance to look at that after the service, it was typed out, and Valentino in green ink corrected the wordage because his dogs were trained in Italian. They're being shipped to the Whitley Heights house, and he was telling them how to, in Italian, to train those dogs as they were being trained. We remember this Mineral Overture 90 years later because it's a significant turning point in Hollywood history. And as I mentioned about Valentino's brief tenure on screen, it really is amazing that we are all here and for this remarkable man. So that is the brief history of the Valentino Mineral Overture. Again, there's displays here. There's a map of all the stops. There's failure. There's things in the display case. We'll talk more about that later. I'd like now to introduce our next speaker, Garrett Bryant. Garrett is going to speak an actual newspaper article of the day that actually went and saw them dancing live, and it's very vivid, the detail that they offer. So please welcome Garrett Bryant.
Hello. So this article, 1923, what I want you to see about this article is how much fun the writer is having. Okay, it's 1923, this is back in the time where celebrity mystique still had mystique. You know, this is before TMZ and Us Weekly. This is when a celebrity came to town, and it was exciting and fascinating. So you can see how much fun this writer is having when he writes this. So this is from the Fall River Globe, Tuesday, April 24th, 1923. The headline, Rudolph May decided hit. Movie star from the southern clime, accompanied by Miss Valentino, delighted large audience at the casino with their Argentine tango dance. Rudolph Valentino, ladies, attention. He came last evening, and so that we may now get down to a description of this ideal of every woman's heart, let us first describe the preliminaries. It was about 8 o'clock outside in the street. The casino was thronged with women, and begging your pardon, O sterner sex, there were no small number of men in the crowd. Blue-coated officers kept the crowd in abeyance until someone would cry, "Here comes Rudolph!" And then the ladies stepped down from the curtain to get a better look. And now let's go into the casino. There the evening opened with concert by Diviner's Orchestra, which was followed by a beauty contest. Who was there? Ladies, not all flappers. No, we cannot blame these youngsters for the size of the audience last evening. There were ladies in the audience who had well past the age and stage of flapperdom. Following the beauty contest, of which Miss Edith Kenyon was the winner and by the way, this is her certificate that she was awarded when she won said beauty contest. So when she won this contest, the Argentine orchestra played the original tango for Valentino. They gave a short concert. And now, see the conquering hero comes. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of presenting Mr. and Mrs. Rudolph Valentino. Were there sighs? There were. And then Val and his lady appeared. She was a picture in her black and scarlet Spanish costume, her nut brown hair worn straight back with a flower over each ear. A scarlet shawl with deep fringe covered her black velvet dress, and vivid red heels were her shoes. She was pale, she had blue eyes, a small mouth, and was fascinating looking. And did you see him in the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse when he danced the tango? Then what you saw in the pictures, you saw again in the flesh last evening. He is that dark, with a warm olive skin peculiar to those who claim a land brighter than ours. His eyes are soft, dreamy, and languorous. His mouth is mobile, revealing when he smiles flashing white teeth. And can they dance? The Spanish music stars. The movement is slow at first. One hears the click of the castanets. The movement of the music grows quicker. And then you see the flash of her scarlet skirts. The feet of the dancers move quickly, and still more quickly. They twirl around in perfect harmony, as faster and more fiery grows the music. And then, the end. Ladies, you have seen Rudolph Valentino. It was worth waiting for, and every lady thought she had not been disappointed. The men were also willing to concede that this Valentino was sort of a likable chap after all. Following the dancing, Valentino presented the winner of the beauty contest with 2 dolls, which had appeared in Steiger's windows last week. And he also made an appeal for better moving pictures. The floor was then cleared for dancing. The winners of the dancing contest were Miss Lillian Croak and Harry Henrington. Thank you.
What a wonderful reading. That makes you feel like you were there. I mean, everything you read was in the newspaper. Very vivid reporting in that time. Right now we're going to segue right into the video, which will give you visuals of what it was like on the Mineral Overture. So let's go with the Mineral Overture video. visual of what it was like on the Mineral Lava tour. To cap off our tribute to the 90th anniversary of the Mineral Lava tour, we're delighted to have a live exposition tango dance by Michael Espinoza and Braca Loren. Please welcome Michael and Braca.
Dance called the Milonga now, which is the dance that the tango came out of. Little faster paced dance. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that energetic performance. We now have a guest speaker who's been with us before, but we're absolutely delighted he's here again. He's agreed to join us to give us an update on what's going on Falcon Lair. Please join me in introducing Christopher Reardon.
Good afternoon. Very nice to see a lot of familiar faces. Again, one in particular we're not seeing today, I'd just like to mention him, and that's the wonderful producer William Self, who was a very good friend and also my boss many times. He was also a very good friend of Alberto Valentino, who was Rudolph's older brother. And Alberto and I were also friends. I met him at a very young age. So Mr. Self and I used to have a lot of conversations about Alberto, Falcon Lair, and so on. The other day, I received a little note on the internet saying, what in the world is the fascination with you and Valentino and Falcon Lair? And I thought, what a stupid question. but I thought, well, be nice. You know, I do try from time to time. So I put down some notes, and at the same time, my son had called and said, let's go to breakfast. And so we met, and he said, Dad, what are you going to talk about? And I said, well, Tracy has asked me to give an update on Falcon Lair. And he said, how are you going to do that without swearing? I said, well, I'm going to try my best. But I think I should probably tell you why Falcon Lair and Rudolph Valentino mean so much to me. Naturally, as a child and in show business already, the name Valentino held magic. And I was intrigued by everything that Mr. Valentino did, what he wore, and of course where he lived. And I tried to read up on everything that I could possibly read up on. When I first came to Hollywood in 1956, I was just 18, so don't do the math. I'll be 76 in November. I fell in with some other actor friends, and they said to me one day, we're going to drive up and see Falcon Lair. Do you want to go? I said, sure, of course. So we drove up. And in those days, you could see right through the gates that Doris Duke had not put on those awful black steel things that you can't see through now. And I was absolutely intrigued by the sight of this house, and I have to say it held a lot of suspense and a lot of emotion for me, and I did not understand why at the time. I was thrilled to have seen the house, and I of course went home and thought about it. Later on, somebody said to me, hey, we're going to go to a party at Falcon Lair. You see, in those days, Doris Duke used Falcon Lair as a place to stop off. Rather than get a hotel or something, she bought Falcon Lair at the behest of Gloria Swanson, and that was her stopping off place. So when she was in town, of course, nobody could come near the place. But when she wasn't, her staff held parties there. And I'm happy to say I was a guest at many of those parties. And I went through that forest many, many times and walked on those wonderful stone pathways. Each time I kept saying to myself, I wonder whose footprints stepped here first. It was an absolutely intriguing, magical place. If you've never been there, I can't explain it to you in full extent. But it really held a lot of mystery and romance, and there was just something about being up on that hill and living in that air that made you feel Valentino. People ask me, is it haunted? I don't believe in all that stuff, but I do believe in feeling, a strong spiritual feeling, and I definitely felt that every time I'd go to Falcon Lair. Years later, I met a man who I now call my father. He, at the time, was a very famous director, and of course he was in these social circles, and so from time to time, he would have Doris Duke and a few other of her friends at his parties. Never once did I ever tell Doris Duke that I was at her house when she was not there. Doris Duke was a very tall and very formidable woman, and you would not want to say, oh, I played in your garden or sat in your kitchen. That just wouldn't happen. So a little later on, I was doing some plays in Los Angeles, plays. I was so young, I could do a play in the nighttime and do a movie in the daytime. Boy, to have that energy now. But I have to have somebody help me with my lines because I'm dyslexic. I can't read off of the script. So I had this woman who was helping me, and I took a break from the help and went into her bathroom for a moment, and I came out and I said, "What in the world is that mirror that's in your bathroom? That's the most beautiful mirror I've ever seen." She said, "Oh, really?" She said, "You know, that comes from Falcon Lair." I said, "Are you kidding me? Are you serious?" She said, "Yes." One of Doris Duke's staff members somehow got the mirror, took it and gave it to somebody else, and then somehow Cynthia got it. And, as luck would have it, it was then given to me. I can tell you that I had that mirror in West Hollywood, Studio City, Ashland, Oregon, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and all the way back to Beverly Hills at Falcon Lair again when I moved into Falcon Lair. What had happened was I was living in Mexico and my son was working in a film, and he was working for a man by the name of Tom Blunt. Now Tracy knows Tom, knows him to be the wonderful gentleman that he is, and he had bought Falcon Lair, and they were shooting this film up there. As it turns out, Sean was asked to work for Tom and be at Falcon Lair at all times. Now I used to come back and visit twice a year at least, because I wanted to see my son. And I would be staying in Falcon Lair, sometimes in the house, sometimes in the guest house, sometimes downstairs, sometimes upstairs. It just depended. Tom and I had become very good friends, and it broke my heart when he said that he was thinking of selling Falcon Lair. At about the same time, I decided that I was going to come back home. And so I did, and I had no place to go, and Tom said, "You're welcome to stay here as long as you want." And then all of a sudden, he had decided for sure that he was going to sell Falcon Lair. And he asked me if I would stay there and overlook the place and be with the guard dogs, because not too many people were friendly with the guard dogs, or rather I should say they were not very friendly with other people. So it turned out to be a very, very nice deal. It was a great experience for me. I was back at the lair, I was back in the forest. I was sitting amongst all those wonderful trees and sitting in Valentino's private garden and having my tea, thinking, oh, that's probably exactly what he did too, and having the family of deer come up and join me. It's just such a magical place, and I realize I just said is, and it's not any longer, and that's the sad part. Unfortunately, Tom sold it to a man who I told you 4 years ago when I was here, promised us that he was going to keep Falcon Lair as it had always been. He was going to improve it. He was going to make sure that it was stronger and no earthquake would bother it or anything else. Well, that made us all very happy, and we felt very secure that this was going to happen. And I was thrilled to death because, as I just told you, I have many, 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 many memories of Falcon Lair. Well, it didn't quite turn out that way, I'm sorry to say, and that's why I'm here today, is to give you the update. I realized very soon that this man that bought the place was not at all interested in making sure that it was going to be Rudolph Valentino's Falcon Lair. It was going to be his name and Falcon Lair. The first thing he did was cut down 137 trees. Most of those trees had been there for 100 years. Some of those trees Valentino himself planted. I knew just about every tree, every bush, every cactus, everything that was on those grounds. And when I saw those trees being demolished, I literally cried. First of all, I hate the idea of the trees being cut down, but secondly, what was the point? Then he attacked Valentino's garden, which to me was a sacred place. It became one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life, and when I used to refer to it, they would call me up and say, oh, they're going to work down there in the what you call Valentino's garden. And I said, no, I don't call it that anymore. I call it the Liberace Lounge, because that's exactly what it looked like. It was so garish and so ugly. Then, of course, day came when they decided they're going to take down the entire home. Well, you can imagine what that did to me. It didn't make me very happy at all. Quite upsetting. I stayed on for as long as I could, but every time they started to do something, I would get my little ankles going and run down the hill and say, what in the heck are you doing? And they say, yeah, this is going to be this and that's going to be that. I realized that it was not going to be. Now, if it makes you any happier, if you can find any happiness in the fact that this horrible thing is taking place, the fact is that this person has run out of money and he can't do anything more. He can't demolish the servants' quarters, the house in which my son and I live, because if he lets that go, the city is going to go in, I don't know how many feet, it's an enormous amount, and widen the road, and he'll lose that amount of property. He certainly doesn't want to do that. Now, Tom Blunt is in town right now, and I asked him, I said, is there an update? Because I have to speak. And he said, well, the update is that Mr. So-and-so, which seems an appropriate name for him, don't you think? Now has the property up for sale because he has realized there is no way, with all the destruction that he has done, that he can do anything worthwhile. And he's run out of money. So if that makes us feel any better, that's my update on Falcon Lair. I only hope that somebody might buy the property and rebuild the place and perhaps put it back the way it was. Fortunately, because Tom and this gentleman did not get along at all, Tom kept the doors of Falcon Lair, so he did not get to destroy those. Lots of the Napoleon room, which was the library, has been kept. Fortunately, I used to tease Tom about he had stored rooms all over the city, and all this stuff was in there. One huge picture of Doris Duke, probably as tall as where that window begins. And I said, where's that picture? And he said, I don't know, I seem to have lost it. Now, how can you lose a picture that size? But you see, this is how many storerooms he had. So fortunately, he had the excuse of saying to this man, I don't know where that is, I can't find it. So we do have a lot of things that were a part of Falcon Lair, and I did take a certain amount of things from Falcon Lair, so we still have that. I'm really sorry to come back to you 4 years later and tell you that my promises of making sure that it was all going to be just fine is not true. Please know that I tried my very, very best. But when you're dealing with a man that has an ego the size of the city of Los Angeles, there's not much you can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for that update and insightful look into the backstage, if you will, of what transpired at Falcon Lair. I know I've driven up there many times just to see what's going on, to find nothing going on. We're now going to enjoy a musical interlude on Valentino by our good friend Vince Morton, who is a good friend of our good friend Bob Mitchell. So please welcome Vince Morton.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do for you a song that is based on a poem written by Rudolph Valentino. He wrote a lot of poems, and I understand he also did some painting. But this is one of the poems. I don't know that it's complete in the way that it was taken down and made into a song, but the story goes that he gave the poem to Dietra Flamé, who turned it into this song, and this is what we have now. But anyway, I think you'll like it. He supposedly told her to turn it into a tango. So here we are. A gypsy maiden learns of love upon a summer night, of love undying and divine, beneath a spell of candlelight. Candlelight and distant shadow through the night, a tale of romance tells. Love alone, a mellow candlelight, magic words. Oh, darling, please be mine. Somewhere a melody came out of the night to me, and together we stayed into the stars, flame danced within a heart that now is a world apart, and the night was gone. Now the rain blanket through the dawn. Love is mine with candlelight and probably most of you do not consider yourselves singers, right? Well, we all know that Rudolph Valentino passed away on August 23rd, 1926. How many here know when our beloved Rudy was born? Ooh, a lot of people. It was May 6th, 1895. And who of you, if it was May 6th, 2014, and Rudy was here right now, would not join in to sing happy birthday to him? Probably everybody would. Well, it is May 6, 2014. Rudy's not here in the flesh right now, but I'm going to ask you to sing along on the end of this next song as a tribute to him. The song is called There's a New Star in Heaven Tonight. And the story goes that it was written by three wonderful songwriters who were so moved by Rudy's passing that they wrote this song in a tribute to him. One of them was named J. Karen Brennan, who wrote that wonderful song about Ireland called A Little Bit of Heaven. Another one was a man named Irving Mills. And then perhaps the most famous one of the three writers was Jimmy McHugh, who wrote the song and so many big hits, I Can't Give You Anything But Love, and many, 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 many others. Anyway, it would take too long to go into all of those. At the very ending of the song, and you'll know when, I'd like you to join me in on the last phrase of the song. And you don't know the way it goes, but it goes like this. It's the title of the song, and it's there's a new star in heaven tonight. That's all there is to it. There's a new star in heaven tonight. So when we get there, I'm going to wave at you, and I want you all to sing, okay? You can all sing happy birthday, so you can sing this. Stars may come and stars may go up there in that starry space, but when one falls, God always star at home in that far starry dome, shining down on his loved ones tonight. There's a voice singing the kindly light, with a smile that has made the world bright. Valentino, goodbye, but way up in the sky, there's a new star in heaven tonight. Dancing, leading the way, with a smile that has brightened each day. Valentino, farewell, God has favored you well. There's a new star in heaven tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vince. That was great. Our first sing-along at the Valentino Memorial. Next on our program, I'm very pleased to invite to the stage someone who has recited poetry that Valentino wrote, and she's going to do it again today. But please welcome Allison Francis.
Very much. I'm going to be reading from Valentino's personal copy of Daydreams. First poem is Memorial. A saint in a stained glass window, to the memory of one who lived the life in sin and strife, whose epitome of fun. A bit of colored crockery, a picture wrought in glass, his memory's mockery, 'tis best to let it pass. A saint in a stained glass window, a blessed memorial true, when it reflects the beauty of the memory of you. Next is entitled Hunger. I have journeyed toward the city on the long, long road of life. I have learned how little pity plays a speaking part in life. I have learned that only money is voice that's heard today, calling for God's milk and honey. Even hunger has no say. I've reached the city center by the crooked road of hell, for starvation's been my mentor and has taught her lesson well. And the last poem that I'll be reading today is called Even Song. I sing a song to the sapphire sky that curtains a sleeping earth. I sing a song to stars on high that mark a jewel's worth. My feeble voice, so weak it sounds, a puny, earthy cry. Yet when it echoes, comes to me, angelic voice in harmony, I know it is not I. It was belief that gave it wing, that weakling voice of mine, and carried it where angels sing God's melody divine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allison. Now we're going to go right into a video. This year, 2013, marks 100 years this December that Valentino arrived on the American shore from Italy. So we've devised a little video, quite brief but very appropriate. So we're going to show the 100 years of Valentino's arrival in America.
Wrapped up with sunshine underneath the sky of blue, 'cause I'm sailing on a Sunday on my way to you. Not a cloud is gonna stop me, I'll be coming right straight through, 'cause I'm sailing on a Sunday on my way to you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
We're going to start with a song that we discovered that was recorded, I guess, in the early 50s?
Early 50s, actually, which is unusual for us because we usually dig back way before that.
And it's very obviously inspired by Rudolph Valentino and his persona in Sheep. And so we'd like to offer this one, which is called One Arabian Night.
It has that camel rhythm, which you're probably familiar with, which is minor in a 7th chord, something like this.
One Arabian night,
The moon is young and fat,
a handsome sheep's gonna kiss my cheek and wear a turban hat.
on one Arabian night, said the fortune teller to me.
You lead my hand to a Hindustan, and by the ring you'll see.
Don't rub your eyes, it's no mirage, that's a real life camel in my garage. Come to the dawn, I'm climbing on and wait to ride side by side. One Arabian night, gonna meet you, baby, I know.
We'll
Honeymoon on a desert road, I'll never let you go. I'm as lonely as a sphinx by the river Nile. Won't somebody break my jinx? My camels walked a mile. Lonely like the caravan creeps across the land. My true love is calling me, it's written in the sand. Don't rub your eyes, it's no mirage, that's real life camel in my garage. Comes the dawn, I'm climbing on, and where we'll ride side by side. One Arabian night,
gonna meet you.
baby, I know. Honeymoon on a desert dune, and never let you go. Well, honeymoon on a desert dune, and never let you go. Love that song. All right.
And now for the tradition.
This is a much more famous song.
Yes, and of course, being Evans and Rogers, we have to do our own little thing with it. And as everyone does, there are probably more versions than you can count, lyrically and perhaps otherwise. But this will have a ring of the traditional and a little extra something that we discovered in a motion picture from the 40s from one of the major studios. And if you've seen it, you'll probably know what we're going to do.
They'll remember
We don't want
that.
to spoil it.
But we're going to be doing the verse, which you very rarely hear. Isn't that right? Very rarely.
Okay.
Okay. Same camel rhythm.
so much. We now have a selection of an essay written by Chris Cipinelli, who will be, it's titled, He Sang of the Sun. He's a little nervous, so be kind to him. But we welcome him. He came all the way from Seattle to be here today. Please welcome Chris Cipinelli.
I'm sorry I have to do this. So See, and to Rudy, and this time, this would be like high technology. So. 60 seconds to go. All right, everyone, I'm really excited to be here. I'm a little jittery. I'm from Seattle, maybe it's all the coffee. But I just really want to say how happy I am to be here, and I want to extend my thanks to you, Tracy, for inviting me here. It's a big honor. I just got to say really how beautiful it is. I've once been saying it, but just the fact that, man, almost 90 years, and the fact that everyone's here and they're celebrating someone, not only Rudy, but his era, in a time when Hollywood still had that magic touch, I think is a really wondrous thing. And if we, if we maintain our grace and our dignity, and if we go into life and we have those ideals and we feel, that touch of greatness, and, we go for our dreams and go into a better world, then we're like Rudy and we still carry him with us. So, with that said, here's my poem. It's kind of surreal. It's kind of about a young Rudy dreaming of the man he would become. And it's, in a lot of his notes, he would write about how he missed the Italian sun. So, it's called He Sang of the Sun. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope he enjoys it too. The young man raced through the alleys of the city. Dusk was fast approaching, yet he knew he would still be late. He looked at the clock on the city hall, and he knew he would be chided for coming home at such an hour. So he scurried to the crumbling fountain, under the likeness of an aged martyr, surrendering himself to sleep. Within his dreams, he gazed at the stars. They aligned perfectly like glistening jewels in a celestial chorus, and they called him by name. Gaze at your world, my son, and they sang to him. And with the earthly chorus to his side, he began to see his whole world shifting. Tottering cars that bled exhaust moved through a valley, where a sign on a hillside called all who dared to come and dream. In a tweed coat and cap, and a bit of tobacco in his pack, a world of wonder in his mind, he smiled at his fortunes and gazed like an explorer of a new land. Signs proclaimed his name, though a name a little shorter than his own. He walked in to the grand theater of a moving image, where he gazed upon that which was himself. He looked at his guises, the one after the other, a noble count, a young cad, a beloved corridor, the lone adventurer traversing the western seas, an amorous Arab in a gold headdress, an ancient Moor in the hills of Spain. Virility, whimsy, coquetry all came to be seen. Flaxen-haired girls in humble towns gazed at him in longing. Women stirring supper in humble kitchens proclaimed a shard of memory as they gazed at the picture that bore his eyes, reclaiming an innocence that had once been their own. Yet within a singular heart burned not the soul of a star, but of a gardener, an artist, a dreamer, the finest of dancers. He flinched and he saw his world become smaller, but his heart grew greater still. The lights moved. Thousands of people were coming to sing in his name. Children cried in the streets. Flowers flashed like confetti, and glistening pools of earth and time froze shut. He looked upon the world that was his own, and marveled at its splendor. He wanted for nothing but the sun, for it held a special place in his heart. He had found it, and it loomed above him, and reclaimed a grace that was within his soul. It could not be contained, not by the image, not by the words of the people, and not by the passing of time. The light shifted. It was nighttime again, and the boy awoke once more. Though his rest had been short, he crept back home, opening slowly the wooden door, and crawled into bed. As he drifted back to the land of Nod, he gazed again at the realm beyond the sea, beyond the rocks. And the voice spoke to him once more. You will dream, you will know, you will dance. A final image appeared before him, a stallion, a white stallion, ascended from the lights and was seized by the man that was himself, grasping its reins and racing into a perfect infinity under the wistful heat of a Mediterranean sun.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll come back. We're now going to show the 2013 Valentino tribute video. Let's remember Rudolph Valentino.
Like a comet blazing across the evening sky, gone too soon. Like a rainbow fading in the twinkling of an eye, gone too soon. Shiny and sparkly and splendidly bright, here one day, gone one night. Like the loss of sunlight on a cloudy afternoon, gone too soon. Built upon a sandy beach, gone too soon. Like a perfect flower that is just beyond your reach, gone too soon. To delight, here one day, gone one night. Like a sunset dying with the rising of the moon, gone too soon.
Next, we are going to do a brief introduction to May Murray. May Murray and Valentino had an association that author Michael Anchorage will go into, but we're going to do a quick overview of the career of May Murray. brand new book out, Mae Murray, the girl with the bee-stung lips. And we're so glad to have its author, who flew in from Georgia to be with us at the Valentino Memorial today. I ask you to join me in welcoming Michael and Corinne.
Well, I bring you greetings from all the Valentino fans in Georgia, and there are scores of them who are sorry that they can't be here, but Valentino is well remembered in Georgia. It's a tremendous honor to be here. Thank you, Tracy, for the invitation. I've been coming to LA for about almost 30 years to do research and interviews, and I've been coming here every time I come to LA. I never miss the chance to come to visit Valentino here. Of course, when I come here, it's usually, I'm the only person here, and it's very quiet, and I can hear my footsteps on the marble. And it's just usually Rudy and Barbara and William Desmond Taylor and a few others. But today, it's full, and so I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. I want to briefly tell you about Valentino and Mae Murray's friendship. And as Tracy said, I did pen this book that came out, I think, in December. And for a shameless little piece of self-promotion, I'm going to be at Book Suit tomorrow at 4 o'clock if you all want to come out. And I'll tell you some more about how I came up with this idea to write the book. But the friendship between Valentino and Mae Murray was a very unique one. It lasted from the day that they met until the day he died. And it's longer than I think it's longer than any friendship I think that she ever had, even longer than any husband for sure. They met while they were both in New York dancing, and this is when they first met. It was while out with Olive Thomas at the Knickerbocker one afternoon that a young Italian caught Mae's eye. She pointed him out to Olive. "Damn beautiful, isn't he?" said Olive. He was a magnificently built man, and his disposition was as delightful as his physique made him. Just to see his expressive hand lying on the back of a chair was art. Rudy and I had a unique understanding. We were attracted to each other from that very afternoon. Call it sex if you will, but more correctly call it a dancing friendship, which is why our bond lasted. Their paths soon went in different directions when Mae came out to California to make films in 1916. Mae likes to take credit for introducing Rudy to the films, but he was already in Hollywood making appearances in movies when they worked together in The Delicious Little Devil and The Big Little Person. But Valentino was so he'd already been here. But Mae had always been attracted to Valentino. The young Latin lovers was the type that she liked, especially later on in her life. And so she charged him on the set of the film to take charge of his magnetism. She said, "Because magnetism is like a light," Mae told him. "Some people have a 60-watt bulb. Some have 150 watts. You have a full 150. Never doubt that." In the fall of 1924, two monumental events happened to Mae in Mae's life. She was awarded the starring role in The Mere Widow, and she divorced Robert Z. Leonard, her husband, her business partner, and her director. After the filming wrapped on The Mere Widow in May of 25, she was back and forth to Europe and was rather reckless in her personal life. Perhaps it was inevitable that her friendship with Valentino exploded into passion. The press hinted at marriage. Their responses are telling. "Marry again? Absurd," Valentino said. "While I am what you might call domesticated, I have observed that a man in my profession is happier when he is single. I have no present intention of marrying Miss Mae Murray or any other woman." But now listen to what she says.
She says, everybody just loves him. Do you? And Porter asked. Oh, you see, I think he's really wonderful and giddy, May responded. Of course, I have to admit that marriage is possible. Tomorrow, who knows what might happen. Rudolph and I are very old friends. We knew each other before we were on the screen. We were both dancers, well, we're childhood friends. Sweethearts, well. Somewhere along the way, as May's nephew so eloquently put it, May got knocked up and slipped away to Paris to give birth to a son. She returned alone to the States, an unwed mother, a major Hollywood star, a gullible woman desperate for love and affection. You know the rest of the story. She met Princess Devi Devani. He stepped in and filled the void and his pockets. He became her fourth husband. The day she said I do, Valentino gave a breakfast at Falcon Lair for the couple. The two rode together to the church. On the way, Valentino leaned over and asked, May, are you sure you want to do this? With Paula as maid of honor and Rudy as best man, May became Hollywood royalty. Only 2 months later, Hollywood lost its greatest lover. May said she had lost her soulmate. Rudy Valentino has become immortal, she told a radio interviewer. While many didn't see him or know him, they, through the years, have felt him because he was a true mystic. I don't mean a sanctimonious mystic, but of course, with us, it was an even deeper quality because I think I have a little mysticism in me too. May blamed her friend's death on his professional ups and downs and his torrid personal life. You can be deeply hurt in life, she said in 1960. He had, like me, a few enemies who wanted to destroy him, and he was super sensitive, like John Gilbert. I thank God that what happened to me didn't take my life. It was a hard fight, but it didn't take my life. Now, I believe May was at Valentino's funeral, but I wonder how many times she came here in this building to pay her respects and remember her friend. She had connections here, of course. Both her brothers are at this cemetery. One's around the corner here, one's out in the cemetery. But of course, that's another story for another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, so much for sharing your memory book. To conclude today's 86th Valentino Memorial, I welcome Stella Grace to the podium to read the 23rd song with audience participation.
I want to thank everybody for coming here once again. And I do this every year as I do it again. Title casting, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't. I thank you, and I thank you. My community member, thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Tracy, these are 4 people that put this on every year, and this is not something we just did last week. We started this a year ago, and we're already working on next year's now. So there's a lot of work that goes into this. This is just not something that just happened to us the other day. I want to thank everybody for coming. Also, did you guys notice in your program we have an insert? These are actual ads from the period that appeared in newspapers and in magazines. And also the other thing we handed out, did you all notice the tickets? This is an actual ticket that was given at the time. I think Tracy's going to speak a little more on that, I believe. No. Okay. Well, in that case, this is an actual ticket that we produced for you. I thought it would be a nice souvenir. Do you want to talk about Rebecca's program? Okey-dokey. I've been in church for the 23rd Psalm, which is what we've been doing for many years, and I'm pleased to ask you to join me. Thank you. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the grass of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou art surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Thank you, Tracy.
I didn't have anything to say about the ticket. That concludes the memorial service for the 86th anniversary. I do want to ask everyone to, as I read off your names of our guest speakers who gave of their time and their stories. It was so wonderful. What a year. And I asked you to give a round of applause and ask them if they would stand up. First off, we would have Garrett Bryant. Michael Espinosa and Braca Loren. Christopher Reardon. Mr. Vince Morton. Allison Francis. Sarah Evans and Rick Rogers. Chris Cipinelli. Michael Anchorage. I'd also like to thank the Valentino Memorial Committee, Stella Grace, Marvin Page, and Chanel O'Farrell, and thank you, Tyler, for being as well. I'd like to acknowledge some special guests that we have here who did not speak. We have Sylvia Valentina Huber. And someone who's, again, on the sidelines, but very involved in the memorial with her astute research and all things on the Miralava tour. Most of the data that we have here, including the pamphlets of the tour cities that you hold in your hand now, were all, for years, documented. She's a librarian, so she gets right down to the nitty-gritty of facts. Please, a round of applause for Rebecca H. As we said earlier, the Valentino Mineralava tour items are up here for your perusal. We're actually going to make the two trophies available if you'd like to hold them in your hand, as presented Valentino 90 years ago. I'd like to thank personally Zachary Caden, who will assist you in If you were here last year, we underestimated the amount of people here. And we ran out of the 85th anniversary buttons. If you were here last year and did not get one, please see me at the conclusion of the service.
Where's yours?
I've got a few left. And also another note is, obviously, please see the displays on Valentino around the corner, courtesy of Marvin Page, as you go to pay respects to Rita Valentino. And one last repeat that Mr. Anchorage will be signing his book at 4 o'clock tomorrow, May Murray, The Girl with the Beast on the Lips, at Book Soup. So that concludes.
Can we please thank Tracy to you for everything?
walked off without doing it. It was so special, I put it on his own page, and I did such a good job at MC, I almost didn't do it. Please, 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 every video that you saw today was done with love, care, and dedication by none other, a good friend of mine, and certainly a friend of the Valentino Memorial. Please stand up and give him a bow. Frank Labrador. And that concludes the Valentino